maybe over 400 years, generation to generation, and they're there. For example, T.G. Jakes recently said that he's now a classified Igbo man, that is traced his genealogy and is found that he's from Igbo. He's an Igbo guy. Then there's also the diasporans that went to overseas, either for education or for business purposes. Was supposed to be a quick return, but somehow they have found themselves there, gotten citizenship there. The children have been born there, maybe 1 or 2 generations, and they have almost virtually settled there, especially in the last 40 to 50, maybe 60 years. And then the new diasporans, our children and students who've gone, and now very few of them are thinking of coming back to Nigeria. Okay, so our guest today is somebody that I have known for many, many years. He's a young man, young banker. I think at the time was probably working with FCMB or one of the younger banks, and got married in my presence, had his children in my presence, and now he has risen through the banking ranks, started his own company, Quest Advisory, and from there was sort of poached, headhunted, and he's now an MD, managing director at one of the leading merchant banks in Nigeria. And he himself, probably born in the UK, grew up there for a few years, and then went to school there, and then came back, finished his education here. I think went back there, did a postgrad, and now back in Nigeria. And we're looking at the issue of what can the diasporans do to make this country a different kind of country. So please welcome with me today, Mr. Bayo Rotimi. Bayo, you are most welcome, and I thank you for being part of this discourse today. I know you've been on the platform a few times. We've shared thoughts here and there with myself, with Olu, and also, of course, with Sunny. And I just want you to maybe give a full introduction of yourself, if you want, and then tell us why are there so many Nigerians in diaspora? What led to them being in diaspora? And what do you think they should be thinking about right now at this time of Nigeria's history? So, Bayo, thank you very much. You are most welcome.
Excellent. Pastor, thank you very much. It is a very great pleasure to be here with you all. The Nigerian Leadership Series or African Leadership Series is one of the initiatives, one of the platforms through which pastor and like-minded individuals are seeking to change the narrative about Nigeria, Nigerians, and Africans. This issue that we're discussing today, the Nigerian diaspora, it fits squarely into that conversation. Why is it that we have a lot of Nigerians currently living outside of the shores of our country? The last bit of statistic that I checked on this matter, it showed that a total of 17 million individuals are outside of our geographical boundaries. As Pastor has said, there are multiple types of Nigerians in the diaspora, so there are those of Nigerian origin and those that through tracing their genealogy have found out that they originated from this space. Now, my view, Pastor, is a number of people have found themselves outside of these shores for a variety of reasons. My parents, when they were in the early 60s, they found their way to the UK in pursuit of higher education. And the objective at the time was get education, this higher education, then come back and contribute towards nation building. So myself and a number of people of my generation, what you will describe as those that bear or have dual citizenship. So as we all grew up through the system, at some point we were carrying multiple passports. And as the Nigerian economic environment became more and more oppressive, some people decided to retrace. They decided to retrace their steps and seek greener pastures outside. So one major reason, Pastor and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, why a lot of people are currently in the diaspora is that they have gone to pursue greener pastures. They feel that our country has not given them the opportunity, that our country has not created an enabling environment for them to express themselves, for them to use their God-given talents for their own benefit as well as for the benefit of society. But Pastor, this migration is a double-edged sword. Nigeria has lost a lot of bright minds who could have contributed and can still contribute towards the transformation of our nation. But all is not lost. God created a way of escape because a lot of these people are doing very well, are doing great things outside of the shores of Nigeria, as a result of which they have started remitting significant sums back home. Pastor, the last time I checked, 6%. Diaspora remittances constitute 6% of our GDP. On the average, in the last 10, 20 years or so, Nigerians in the diaspora have been remitting anywhere from $22.5 to $25 billion. This is equivalent to what we get from the sale of this thing they call crude oil. So crude oil is not our only export as a nation. We have also exported millions of people who are at the forefront of innovation, who are leaders in various fields of endeavor. You go all over the world in the field of medicine, in the field of science, in the arts, in financial services. Nigerians are blazing the trail. So all is not lost, Pastor. These people, they are our ambassadors, and they will ultimately, directly and indirectly, continue to support this, our dear nation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Bayo. And that's very encouraging to note that about 25 billion USD, 25 billion USD is actually coming in from diaspora remittances and so on and so forth. Has that had any impact on our foreign exchange rate at this point in time? And you're a banker. Why is our foreign exchange rate depreciating in such a fast pace? I mean, a few years ago, it was about 170, maybe 250 to the dollar. Less than 4 or 5 years, we're looking at 570 or 550 to the dollar at the black market. And also, why is the CBN maintaining this dual rate of 410 through the CBN, and then there's a big gap, a big arbitrage of 170 naira dollar? How is that affecting our economy? Just very quickly.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I think the question is a critical one. Why is our currency continually under pressure in spite of this significant diaspora remittances over the last couple of decades? Well, I think diaspora remittances is one of several sources of foreign exchange inflow into Nigeria. This thing they call crude oil is another major source of foreign exchange receipts. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, we neither control the amount of crude oil that we extract from the ground, neither do we control the price at which the crude oil is eventually sold on the international markets. So we are essentially price takers. whatever the OPEC cartel or the larger universe of countries that demand for crude oil, they pretty much determine the price at which Nigeria and other oil producing and exporting countries sell their merchandise. So that is the first one. There is a lot of volatility in oil prices. So when oil prices are high, we get more foreign exchange inflows into the country, and vice versa. When it is low, we seem to have a bit of a crunch. If you look at the last couple of times that our economy has gone into recession, in the last 25 years, I think we've gone into about 3 different recessions, and every single one of them was essentially triggered by a significant fall in the price of crude oil. Bottom line, Pastor, is the currency will respond to the forces of demand and supply. So when demand significantly exceeds supply, then you will have a situation where the price of that commodity, of that article, of that asset will continue to go up, and which is why you continue to see the fall in the naira, because $1 continually costs more and more, and that really is the challenge. Now, what can be done by the central bank, by the monetary authorities, by economic actors to ensure that our currency becomes stronger? It is important that, number one, we curtail our penchant for imports. We import everything, from the things we need to the things that we do not need, right? So it is important that we pursue an aggressive import substitution strategy. It is important that we pursue in tandem a diversification of our export products. Right now, crude oil constitutes easily about 80% of our foreign exchange inflows through the official markets. So unless and until we diversify our exports, and unless and until we curtail our imports, the governor of the central bank said a few days ago that about 40% of our foreign exchange inflows goes towards the purchase of refined petroleum products. Until, Pastor, we start to refine and the petrol that we need to consume locally, until that is done, this demand for foreign exchange will continue to be on the rise. And as long as the demand cannot be met by the supply, you will continually have a depreciation in the national currency. And that is the origin of the challenges that we face.
It's very painful to me, Bayo, that a nation that produces crude oil, cannot afford or cannot maintain a refinery. And we have to ship the crude oil out and ship the products in, which increases the price, of course. And then 40% of our earnings goes back to bringing in crude oil. I'm sure if we had a refinery, we probably would need to spend 40% of that. In fact, we'll be maybe exporting petroleum products at a value-added price as against just exporting ordinary crude. That's one of my biggest pains, to be honest. And I don't know why the government is not brave enough to take this thing head on, i.e. the solution to the refineries once and for all, and the removal of the petroleum subsidy. Why do you think this government in particular is shy of taking that singular decision? I don't know how much of our GDP is petroleum, that they are spending 40% of our earnings on that same product. How much of our GDP is it? What do you think?
Absolutely, Pastor. The irony is that every time crude oil prices go up, on the one hand, we are celebrating that greater revenues will come in. On the other hand, we are crying because it means that the cost of the refined petroleum products coming into the country has similarly gone through the roof. And as long as we are selling our refined petroleum products at the pump at a price that is not reflective of the market realities, then this thing they call subsidy will continue. Now, subsidy Various studies have shown that trillions upon trillions, I think at the last count, the last number I saw was well in excess of 10 trillion naira, possibly in the last 10 or so years, has gone towards funding this thing they call the subsidy regime. It is clearly unsustainable. It is clearly something that we need to do away with. It requires a lot of political will, because in the short term, when subsidy is removed and prices go up, in the short term, it will increase the level of pain that the average Nigerian suffers or is suffering. So that pain that comes in on a temporary basis. Successive governments have been a bit hesitant to make that call. And unfortunately, again, the longer we delay making that call, the worse it becomes, because anytime, if today that call is to be made and the subsidy is to be removed, immediately you will see in the short term a massive rise in the cost of goods and services. Inflation will go through the roof. And the average Nigerian that is already on his or her knees, you are going to increase the burden on that Nigerian. So it is short-term pain, but I firmly believe that it is the way to go. There is no nation that has achieved greatness that has not had to endure seasons of difficulty, where the citizenry of that country has not had to go through the kind of pains. We call them growing pains. You can't build a great nation without the pains. Unfortunately, Nigerians for a long time have been suffering, have been witnessing and experiencing a lot of pain, but they have not seen the commensurate gains that should come after the pain. And that is really where the issue is. I think there is a significant trust deficit between the citizenry and the government. And that is why anytime government comes and say it is time for us to tighten our belts, then the people in theory, I don't think people fundamentally are opposed to some of these things. But what they are concerned about or what they agitate against is when it seems as if there are different rules for different people. So if it is about tightening our belts, then let everybody from top to bottom, let us all tighten our belts together, right? If it is about sacrificing, then let us all collectively sacrifice and cut down on our cost and our consumption and the like. So that is it. It is a political will to take some of these very hard but necessary steps.
Thank you, Bayo. And what you said also points me to something. The same way we're having a lot of diaspora remittances in, we're having a lot of citizen remittances out. So, in fact, some people don't even store value in Naira anymore. A few people may have some real estate here and there, but one of my aides, was telling me recently that almost all the money that he has, he turns into foreign currency and he moves abroad on the advice of somebody or the other. And because of that, a lot of Nigerians now, are trying to move all their money abroad all the time. That also has a pull or a demand pull on the rates, because some of those monies they don't need as such. It's savings, and it's savings that strengthen other economies and depriving Nigeria of the savings that we need for development. So it's like a double whammy, because people just don't trust this economy. I don't blame them. I mean, I wanted to buy an asset a few days ago, about 3-4 weeks ago, when I was negotiating for it. Let's say it was 1 million. Within 2 weeks, the price was 1.2, 1.3 million. The same asset. What do you think we can do?
What we'll do?
What can diasporans do?
Sit back in the freezer for a few minutes
to try and help us?
Thank you very much, Pastor. I think one thing that diasporans can definitely do is this. A lot of their remittances today largely goes towards consumption. So they send money home to help out family and friends, just to sort them out and help keep body and soul together. Now, one of the things that the diaspora needs to actively start doing is to ensure that some of the monies they are sending home actually goes into investments. Now, again, it is about trust and the deficit of trust. So when diasporans want to remit money, they need to know that there are credible agents and counterparties that they can transact businesses and channel their investment flows through. Because bottom line is this, the enabling environment is challenging. We're dealing with a severe lack of infrastructure that impacts on our cost of doing business. So I am not advocating that it is a walk in the park or investments will naturally come without the challenges, but there are numerous opportunities. Nigeria is one of the most blessed nations that I know in terms of capacity, in terms of resources, in terms of the resilience of the people. So my view is that a lot of these remittances now has to be channeled in a structured manner. So economic actors, players in the financial services sector in Nigeria need to start creating structured products and platforms that a lot of these investment proceeds can then go into, right? And when that starts to happen, you will start to see financial investments, you will start to see investment in infrastructure, you will start to see investment in things like value addition for the agricultural value chain, and I think that is the kind of thing that we need to start doing. As soon as we are seeing more of that coming in, then gradually you will start to see a pickup in economic activity through the creation of new businesses, through the creation of employment and the like. But the reality is, yes, we live in a challenging operating environment, but Nigeria is also one of the few places where return on investment oftentimes can be higher than what is available in other climes. So a lot of people have factored in the cost of doing business in Nigeria, and it is significantly high. They have factored it in, and they are still making a decent profit, which is why you will continue to see that in spite of all of our challenges, some foreign direct investments is still coming in. Yes, not at the volume that we would like, but a lot of people, while the average Nigerian is looking to bail out of the country, foreign nationals are coming in and are establishing businesses, and in spite of the challenges, they are making profitable returns on their investments. So we need to encourage more Nigerians to take that business risk on Nigeria and let us move this needle forward.
That's a very, very incisive point you've made, Bayo. And I'm going to ask you 2-3 questions, and I'm going to yield the floor, first of all, to Sonny, and then open the floor for other questions. A few foreigners, and even many more, would like to come into Nigeria to do business. And those business opportunities, we Nigerians don't seem to be seeing those opportunities. I know of a family, they told me in Badagry, Lebanese, I'm told, and they're happy living in Badagry, making a lot of money exporting shrimp and fish and things out of Nigeria. And we Nigerians don't seem to see those opportunities. I know when Miles Monroe came many years ago, he was showing me so many opportunities all over the place. I didn't seem to see it. And a lot of us are just going to buy houses in London, going to invest on the British stock market, blah, 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 blah. And here, there are pots of gold. So I'm going to ask you to really think very deep, because there are quite a few diasporans on this platform, and say, what kind of environment should a government provide to ensure that we can attract both diasporan investment and foreign investment into Nigeria, okay? And what should also the private sector do? People like yourself, okay, great bankers and institutions like yourself do to work with government to pull in as much of these investments into Nigeria. Why should Nigeria be importing chocolates, for example, when we have so many cocoa plantations going to waste? Why can't we bring the chocolate capital of the world to Nigeria? What's stopping that for example? What is stopping us harvesting our bitumen in Nigeria? And what can the diasporans do to put some kind of pressure to ensure this can happen? Again, I'm sorry to be talking so much. The Indian medical system was transformed by diasporans who decided to come together. They worked with the Indian government and brought in a lot of American technology and expertise into Indian medication. And India has almost become a medical mecca of some sort. So what can be done by everybody, government, private sector, diasporans themselves, to make Nigeria, at the very minimum, the China of Africa? Okay? The other day they were saying that the world is running out of stock of many things because China has not been producing. Now China produces 20% of what the world requires. And Nigeria is even better placed geographically to produce these things and distribute across the entire world than China is. You know, I don't know why we're having so much difficulty doing simple things that can transform a nation. If Singapore can attract so much FDI, a nation, tiny bit of nation, somewhere far away, I don't know what the problem is with Nigeria. That's one, Bayo. The second one is this: how can the diasporans also influence Nigeria politically? How can they ensure we get the right kind of political systems and the right kind of leadership that we need in Nigeria? I can declare boldly that a lot of people in leadership in Nigeria, they've turned themselves into a mafia, into a cult, into an organization, and they've decided to shut everybody else out. What can we do, and how can we break the back of this cult or mafia that's putting us under so much pressure? Over to you, Bayo.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Loaded question. I will try and unpack it one at a time. So I will start maybe from the second to the last point, or third to the last, which is what needs to be done by government, what needs to be done to create that enabling type environment. I think the first order of business is, government has spoken a lot about ease of doing business and making the investment environment a lot more conducive for business. I think what investors like is some degree of certainty. Investors like to see structure. Investors like to see a policy framework. Investors like to see a plan. And beyond the plan, they like to see a government that is taking active steps to implement those plans to the letter. So people just want some degree of certainty when you are asking them to risk their capital, to risk their hard-earned savings and send it into Nigeria to oil the wheels of our economy. So on the part of government, what needs to happen is a bit more clarity around policy, a bit more discipline in the implementation of the existing policies, because we do not lack policies, we do not lack the know-how. We know what to do to fix our economy. What has always been lacking has been the political will to stick to that path and to stick to the tenets of or the principles behind whatever policy initiative we're running with. So it is important that government works on that enabling environment. But who is government? We are also part of government. So we all are stakeholders in this entity called Nigeria. So that's why I like the next part of your question, which says that what can us, we, all of us who are in the private sector or in different sectors, what can we do to move the needle forward? Now, my view is this. A lot of private investors and entrepreneurs have come into this Nigeria, some in the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? They have dealt with all of the challenges that we know exist, and yet they have been able to profitably transact business in Nigeria. Yes, a lot of businesses have failed, but yes, also a lot of businesses have survived. A lot of businesses are thriving in spite of the challenges. So my view is this: the private sector, that is my constituency. So I can only hold my direct constituency to account and say, let us build more businesses. Small size businesses, medium size businesses, large size businesses. Let the diaspora work with credible Nigerian partners, develop business plans, develop feasibility studies, identify businesses. My advice is you can think big, but start small. Think big, but start small, particularly if you live outside of the shores of Nigeria and you want to invest into Nigeria. So you take it gradually. You let the concept be proven. You let the counterparties, your local partners, you let them prove themselves, and then you gradually increase the level of investment. So I believe let everybody operate within their direct sphere of influence. I believe that as we start to empower ourselves economically, then it is the economically empowered person that can now seek to start seeking political power or political influence. So my view is it is collective responsibility, even though government has the primary responsibility of creating an enabling environment for private enterprise to thrive. But in spite of the challenges in our environment, private enterprise that is based on sound fundamentals, that is based on knowledge and capacity. So one of the pieces of advice to everybody is develop capacity in whatever it is that you want to do, so that you go in informed, you go in knowledgeable, knowing fully well what the risk factors are and trying to come up with ways and strategies to mitigate those risks. And I think that is the way you can play in this in a place like Nigeria. Our economy is probably the 27th or the 28th largest economy in the whole world. So in spite of all of our challenges, we actually have a big economy that is full of potential. It is just that we have allowed a lot of foreign interests to come and take charge of all of our economic value chain. And it is time Nigerians claw back their rights. And I think one platform that can drive this for us is through the diaspora. $20-something billion a year is a lot of ammunition and a lot of firepower to move the economic needle and build a private sector led and a private sector driven economy. And I think it is perfectly possible, Pastor. Pastor, did you hear me?
While we are waiting for Pastor, I think Sonny is waiting to continue. Sonny can continue while we are waiting for Pastor.
Okay, right. Excellent.
Thank you very much. Bayo, thank you very much for that excellent answer you gave. Let me just follow up a bit with that, because I saw how passionately you were responding to what $25 billion can possibly do when it is flown into the country. But what is 25 billion when we can generate $1 trillion if we had all those people here? Because, and I give you an example. Recently, the doctors went on strike for almost 2 months. And we saw how the government handled them. And these doctors will end up being frustrated. They will leave here, go to Saudi Arabia, go to UK, go and earn money there, and then they will remit part of it here. But the bulk of the money they spend there anyway. In the 50s and in the 60s, we used to hear stories of how people used to come to UCH to come and do medical tourism in Nigeria. The story is the same. We have Nigerians that have gone to establish universities across the border in Benin Republic, in Gambia. We have Nigerians that have established refineries across the border, and then eventually they bring a part of that money, maybe, which constitutes part of this 25 billion. Now, I mean, we all know the problem. Government policies are shaky. What can be done effectively, Do you think government has the willpower? Because we have seen government after government after government criticize the previous government and say, when we come in, we'll do better. But we have always seen that it's the same thing. Why do we lack the capacity to just do the right thing? Or what, in your view, do you think can be done?
Thank you very much, Pastor Sonny. You know, the Nigerian story is an evolving one. We've had 61 years now, and there has been quite a lot of motion, but very little movement. I agree that as a nation, we have no business being where we are today. You know, I studied and I have read a lot about the Chinese transformation, and I realized, and in the course of that study, I noticed that 1979, just round the corner here, 1979 was when that transformation started. And that was the point at which if our own country was already 19 years old. And between 1979 and the early 90s, so it's not a 40-year story, it's actually a 20-odd-year story that the fundamental fortunes of China transformed fundamentally in 20 years. So that is why I am hopeful that a transformation and a turnaround can still happen in Nigeria. So we've gotten it wrong for the last 61 odd years. And the reality is that we need to go back to some basic fundamentals. The first thing that this gentleman called Deng in China did was to prioritize education. A lot of Chinese prior to that, you struggle to do elementary education, and then you go into the hinterland and you become a subsistent farmer and you are living on the verge of poverty. This man came in, and the first thing he did was a focus, almost an instruction, a national policy, an order that everybody must go out and educate their children. And that was where the transformation started from. So, Pastor Sonny, my view is that unless you go back to the foundations, which is education, which is healthcare, which is the well-being of the average individual, it is once those basic fundamentals are in place, then you can now start driving economic activity, you can now start driving policy. But when you have a situation where most of our young people are not in education, and the few of them that manage to come through the university system and graduate, maybe less than 10% of them can be gainfully employed, then you have an economic force, or rather you have a population that is not adding value to the economy because we have not equipped them to add that value. So my view is there is no short-term solution, there is no shortcut. There is no shortcuts. So we need to take a step back. Now, how can we participate in that process? By all means, government has a responsibility, but I also believe that private sector also has a responsibility. So this African Leadership Series and other initiatives such as this, the church, non-governmental organizations, a lot of people need to come together or continue to work independently with a clear focus on education. Once we get our people educated, Pastor Sonny, that is the catalyst for growth. The growth that we witnessed in the early part of Nigeria's existence was largely driven by the investment in education. So we need to go back there, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello, Sonny. Hello, Sonny.
Okay, Olu, I see some hands are up, so perhaps you can just allow the hands, the people who have raised their hands to ask questions whilst we're waiting for Pastor Sonny to become.
I think he's back.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Very faintly, but I can.
Okay, sorry. Okay, if you can hear me very well, let's just take Eitemi Taire, she has a question. Her hands have been up. So let me take you before Eitemi Taire. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear.
yes, I can.
Okay,
How are
good
you?
evening. I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good.
I want to make an observation about Nigerians and investing. In the sector that I work in, I have, I come across a lot of Nigerians who have a lot of money, a lot of cash to play with. But there are a couple of things that I notice. Number one, Nigerians have a very short-termist attitude to investment. And I think that's a mindset thing as opposed to other factors that are disenabling them, they want to make big money, but they are looking for 12 months, return within 12 months, which is quite frankly not feasible. And then the second thing that I note, Pastor Itwa spoke earlier about the fact that there are foreigners doing good business in Nigeria, and I come across a lot of them doing incredibly good business. But one thing I note is that these are people who are willing to get their hands dirty. They get in there and they do the business themselves. I think we seem to have like a mindset issue, personally. I don't see a lot of Nigerians wanting to invest in getting their own hands dirty into that business. They are looking to give the money away to somebody to go away and bring a huge return in a short period of time. Investment to a large degree, it doesn't work that way. And I think that mindset thing is one of the areas that we need to address. I don't know what your thoughts are with regard to
that. Excellent point and question, Itemi. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It is all in the mind. And bottom line is this: it is about your mindset, it is about your attitude, it is about your staying power, it is about your resilience. Now, these are a lot of attributes that a lot of Nigerians have, in fairness to us, but one of the things, or one major thing we are lacking, is that knowledge, is that understanding, is that education, is that capacity. So we're good at the manual labor part of it, but we need to work smarter. Now, you made a point about a lot of investors, foreign investors, who are involved in businesses that some Nigerians will not go into because these things have a long gestation period. There is a mindset and a mentality to say, I want my returns immediately. We are short term in our outlook. And for you to build a business, for you to build a country, for you to build an industry, you have to be long term in your outlook. Nothing, very little that is sustainable can be achieved over the short term. It is about putting in the right structures and the foundations in place, and then you invest, and then over time you start to reap your rewards. So my advice really is this: let everybody have an outlook. I would say a minimum 5 years. I would say ideally 5 to 10 years. God sparing all of us, that is the kind of mindset. You must always be thinking minimum 5 years, 10 years down the line in terms of what direction you are headed to, either in the field of entrepreneurship, or whether it is in terms of any vocation that you find yourself doing. So let us have a long-term plan, and let us also accept our current realities. And our current realities is that our operating environment is far from ideal, but the operating environment in a lot of other countries, they are also far from ideal. One of the things the last 5 years has shown us is that it has demystified a lot of Western countries. You know, a lot of Western countries that we used to look at like they were on a totally different level. You know, the last 5 years has demystified all of them and has shown that a lot of the issues that the emerging economies of Africa and South America and Asia, a lot of the issues that we are dealing with, some of these countries are also dealing with. You know, so what that simply means is that there is no situation that we are in now that is impossible to turn around. And I think through the collective activity, and I am a strong advocate for private enterprise. I believe private enterprise is the driver of any economy. If you look at our GDP, Nigeria's gross domestic product, which is the aggregate of all the economic activity that is taking place in Nigeria on a year-on-year basis, go and check it out. Ask for the numbers to be broken down. You will see that private enterprise in Nigeria, entrepreneurs in Nigeria are the largest contributor to Nigeria's economy. From that woman selling groundnut on the street corner to that little guy who has a smallholder farm, and all manner of other Nigerians who are doing stuff. You know, so we have the ingredients and we have the building blocks. We just need to empower our people with a bit more knowledge. So those who are beyond school age, we need to help them with vocational knowledge. We need to give them access to grants. We need to offer them capacity building at next to zero cost so that they can improve the quality of what they are doing. Then we will go back to the younger generation and make sure that they have qualitative education. Primary school, secondary school, then you go into either technical colleges, vocational colleges, or you go into university to pursue an academic qualification. Fortunately, with technology now, a lot of people can learn a lot of things even by themselves, even without entering the four walls of a formal school. So what is important is capacity. Once we develop that capacity and we have that change in mindset from short-termism to medium to long-term, then I think that gradually things will start to fall into place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bayo, for that answer. And I will encourage all those, we have a lot of people in the diaspora who are on the platform. You may want to make your contribution or make a comment. But what I want to move us to really is the issue of irregular migration. Bayo, irregular migration. Why do you think that despite all the effort that the governments, both here, the transit routes and in the final destination are making, it hasn't stopped these irregular migrants from following dangerous routes to get to where they want to go to? Every year we see the number of deaths that occur, you know, whether it's in the Sahara Desert or whether it's on the sea. You know, why has that number continued to increase in spite of all the measures that have been, you know, put in place by both our government?
Thank you very much, Pastor Sonny. If I'm to summarize the answer in one word, I would say desperation. A lot of the people who are risking life and limb, crossing the Sahara Desert, crossing the Mediterranean Sea, you know, the French and the British authorities, you know, they see a lot of these things. And the French and the British, people were asking them that, why are you unable to stop this movement of people? These people, they want to cross the English Channel. It is hazardous most times of the year. And yet these people will carry small children, they will carry their wives, they will carry everybody, and they will get onto all manner of contraptions. Now, the singular reason, Pastor Sonny, is desperation. You know, people have been pushed beyond the wall. People are seeking survival in any way, shape, or form. And these people believe that if they can only get out of the shores of their countries and end up in any of these Western nations, that at least they have a better chance of survival. you know, especially when they have heard stories of people, or they know people who have gone abroad in search for a better life. You know, people are not going outside for tourism. People are going out to survive and to safeguard the interest of the families that they have back home. You know, there is a lot of crime and criminality all over the world, particularly in developing nations. So some people are escaping hostile environments on account of insecurity, organized crime. Some people are running away because of the harsh economic policies or economic conditions in the countries where they live. So it is because of desperation that somebody will stow away inside of the engine of a ship or inside of the wheel compartment of an aircraft, all in a bid to get into another country. Or 40 people can enter into a small lifeboat and a lot of them drown halfway. So, Pastor Sonny, it is desperation. And that is why governments across the emerging markets, across the developing worlds, they need to improve the quality of lives and the livelihood of their people. You know, citizens have rights. But unfortunately, a lot of our citizens today have been deprived of their rights to life, their rights to freedom, their rights to liberty, and a decent quality of life. And that is what people are seeking when they risk life and limb to get into other countries. But like I said, all is not lost, because those that eventually make it to those places, when they start working and they start earning money, one of the first things they do is to start channeling money back home. You know, so Nigeria still benefits. But what we need to do is create a friendlier environment back home, right? And also for people who are going out, let us see them as part of our exports. Let us even support some of them so that they can go out, they can acquire the skills that may be lacking or unavailable for them to acquire locally. So let them acquire those skills, those competencies. You know, China did the same thing. I told you, after they focused on education, the next plank in their agenda was to push a lot of their people outside to go and study all over the world, to go and intern all over the world, and then encourage a lot of them to come back home and share and transfer the knowledge and the technology that they have gained when they went out. So it is not entirely a bad thing, because in the last 20, 30 years, a lot of Nigerians have come back home and have brought their skills, their knowledge, their contacts, their resources to invest in Nigeria. And some of the highest performing companies, or some companies that are performing really well today, were founded by some of these returnees. So I think it is for us to organize the exit so that people don't have to walk through the Sahara Desert all in search of a better life. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a couple of follow-up questions to that. You know, because whenever you go abroad, you meet a lot of Nigerians. All they really talk about is home, home, home. They all agree that there's no place like home. If they had an option, they would rather be in Nigeria than being there, because of course there are so many whether cultural differences, total assimilation, both for them and their children, and all that needs to be. So their heart is still at home. They still want to come back home. But, you know, riding on what you just said, Nigeria is also known, you know, for many unsavory businesses abroad. A lot of people have engaged in businesses that are not very straightforward. And they know us for 419, for fraud, for so many things. And so those of you that travel, you know, normally to go abroad to do some decent business are being looked at from the prison of people that are committing fraud abroad and doing all manner of things. Do you think, I mean, I'm just trying to find out, is those that engage in this irregular migration that are looking for any means to survive, that eventually, because they cannot get into the normal system, that get into crime and criminality abroad, thereby bringing the reputation of the country down? Or what is your view? What do you think?
Thank you very much, sir. I agree with you to a large extent. Those who go through the unorthodox route, clearly it means somewhere along the way they will set fire to their passports, they will land, and clearly they will not qualify to be integrated into those societies. Some of them, in fairness, are victims of persecution, are victims of exploitation in different ways and forms, political asylum seekers and the like. But I think the vast majority of migrants are economic migrants. And yes, because most of them enter through informal channels, then they are unlikely to get into the mainstream of those economies or those environments they enter. And the easiest way for them to survive, God bless you, somebody called them economic fugitives. Thank you. The easiest way for them to survive is to succumb to crime and criminality, which is why I am advocating, that we need to, first of all, improve our nation, but also, there are a lot of countries of the world, in the world now, who are actively seeking skilled individuals to come into their economies and take up a lot of the gaps that exist. So from Europe to North America, a lot of countries are rolling out all manner of incentives to people who want to come and pursue higher education. They are saying to them, immediately after you finish your higher education, I will give you an automatic work visa so that you can work for 5 years or whatever it is. So we are seeing an increasing incidence of this, but this is the minority. The minority are those who have graduated from universities, but you have a large number of people who are not educated and who are living or attempting to leave the country to survive. So I agree with you that yes, a lot of these people are the ones that when they get there, they get involved with all manner of unwholesome practices. And unfortunately, they give Nigeria and Nigerians a very bad name. They give Nigeria and Nigerians a very bad name. So people tend to view all Nigerians from that narrow prism, but a lot of people also recognize that in every economy in the Western world, in every country within the Western world, in every industry or sphere of human endeavor, you will find multiple Nigerians who are thriving and who are adding value to that particular sector, to that particular company, or to that particular environment. So I think it's a bit of a balance, but yes, there are a handful of people, not just Nigerian, African migrants that are giving us a bad name in the larger world. But it is desperation, sir. It is desperation. Their backs have been pushed to the wall. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor Bayo. Thanks very much for that answer. Somebody had his hand raised up. I saw his name, but okay. If I see him, I will ask. I want to bring you back to the question of this 25 billion diaspora remittances that we have. Is it all captured formally, or this is plus the informal flow that comes? And I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking that. Recently, the central bank was trying to encourage people to go and collect dollar cash, I'm sure all in an attempt to capture the remittances properly so that they can use it for national development. Don't forget, we're talking about diaspora and national development. So 25 billion is quite a huge chunk, but what percentage of this is captured properly and what percentage of it is not? Maybe buy or travel, somebody give you 2,000 pounds, help me give my sister, or this is not going through any formal channel that people are bringing back informally like that. How can everything be channeled so that it can be tracked and it can help the value of our currency, if all of this is properly captured? Recently, like I said, the central bank tried to put in some policy, and I would like to know your view on that also, because recently they said people should be collecting cash, so they will send you money from abroad, you go to the bank, collect cash, go and sell it to the Bureau de Change. What was the purpose of that policy? Did it achieve its intended purpose? If not, why not? And what else can be done?
All right. Thank you very much. I think that I suspect that a lot of the remittances are not coming through the official channels. If not, the supply of dollars or foreign currency into the official markets would have increased significantly. And that is why CBN, in response to that, came up with several policies. One of the policies was that, look, if you bring your money in hard currency, in convertible currency, you can withdraw your money in the same convertible currency. Then they came up with policies to encourage and to incentivize people to bring money in. So for every X amount that you bring in, you get a particular amount, almost like a commission of sorts. So I think the CBN clearly recognizes that there is a lot of inflow from the diaspora that does not come in through the official channels. So it is really about creating that platform to encourage a lot of these monies to come in. And that is probably one of the reasons also that I think that the CBN has taken a lot of steps against the BDCs because the view is that, look, they are fueling an alternative market and there is a significant gap between the official rates and this unofficial rate. So a lot of people outside Nigeria will typically want to bring in their money and typically want to change it at that rate, in that unofficial, unauthorized markets that will give them more naira for their dollar or more naira for their pounds. But I think that we need these funds to come through the official window. That is why I mentioned a lot of the money that comes in so far or has come in so far, a lot of it goes into direct consumption. We need for the monies to start going into investments. And for them to go into investment, they need to come through the official channels so that the investors can be issued something called a certificate of capital importation, so that they invest in businesses, they make their profit. And guess what? If they want to repatriate part or all of their profits through this mechanism, they can also take their money out. But I think that it is one way to encourage a more significant inflow of foreign currency into our markets. And it is a long process. It has been a long journey trying to get almost some level of unification in our currencies. But right now, there is still a significant gap. But I know that the CBN are literally working around the clock to encourage the channeling of these flows through the official market. Pastor Sonny, I think Vincent, I noticed, Vincent, you had raised your hand physically, not through the icon. So perhaps you want to say something?
Vincent said his audio is not good.
Oh, I see. Okay, I can't read his comment, so Vincent, can you type in the comment and maybe Olu can read out the comment or question?
Okay, I can read it out. What Vincent wrote is, essentially, I believe that the diaspora remittances will continue at the current rate because they serve mainly to provide a welfare safety net, which the government fails to provide. To transform this, we need to have a private sector-driven investment platform. I think is a comment.
Correct. Thank you very much, Vincent. Then there is a question from Alaba Fawoli. So Lu, when I finish with Vincent, please read that as well. Vincent, your point is well made. It aligns with what I have said, that a lot of the money that comes in, it largely goes towards consumption, sorting out family, sorting out friends, trying to make some little investment here and there. But we want it to come in a more structured manner. By all means, we all have responsibility to look after our family and friends. So a significant chunk of that, proportion of that inflow will go towards that. But it's also important that part of that inflow now goes towards economic development, private sector-led economic activities. You know, Pastor spoke about India and the impact that the Indian diaspora had on transforming the Indian nation. You know, it is amazing. I saw a news clip today when I was sitting in a reception somewhere that said that India has achieved 1 billion vaccinations. 1 billion vaccinations. It is amazing, you know, and a lot of the giant strides that India has recorded in the field of technology and in the field of medicine was driven largely by diaspora remittances, as well as Indians in the diaspora returning to their home countries and setting up businesses and supporting businesses and the like. And I know that Nigeria has set up something called the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, which is trying to act as some kind of an interface between the Nigerian diaspora and the Nigerian government functionaries and offices to ease the challenges in terms of doing business registration, some incentives and grants and stuff like that. You know, so there are several things going on almost concurrently, but it's important that we as individuals, every Nigerian family has one representative or the other in the diaspora, you know, or well, let me not say every, but quite a number of Nigerian families are represented in the diaspora. So let us try to start encouraging some of them to channel their resources back home. Somebody raised a comment just now about insecurity. I agree with you, but most of the time, insecurity is driven by lack of economic empowerment, is driven by poverty, is driven by hunger, is driven by all of those societal ills. As the people get more, economically buoyant, you know, then the likelihood that people will be dragged into crime and criminality will reduce. There is no environment that is crime-free, but at least the incidents will reduce significantly. So back to you, Olu or Pastor Sonny. I see several hands are up now.
Okay, let me read Dr. Alaba Fawole's question. It says, Nigeria as a nation is derelict in asserting our human resources. Other countries are winning back their citizens with incentives. What is Nigeria doing? I mean the government, to bring back Nigerians. Maybe we should ask from the Diaspora's Commission under Abike Dabiri. That is Dr. Alaba Fawole's question. So
thank you very much, Dr. Fawole. It's an excellent point, and I think that you have largely answered. You have largely answered the question by mentioning the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. You know, because the government realized that, if you have this group of people that on the average in the last 10, 15 years minimum have been sending into this economy about 20, 23, $25 billion per annum on the average, that is a significant amount. Do you know what 24, $25 billion is a significant part of our national budget. You know, so it is a significant investment amount. So I think the government realized that, look, these people, they are just, even if you call them the direct Nigerians that have immigrated, let's even call them 10, 12 million people. If 12 million or even 15 million people can be delivering this kind of cash inflows, cash injection into our economy, then we need to create a structure, you know, where they can receive support, they can receive investment advice, they can receive some incentives when it comes to investment promotion. So we also have something called the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. And part of the objective is to encourage investment activity. And we have realized, everybody, government and individuals have realized that the diaspora are a major source of aggregating funds. By all means, diaspora alone cannot cure our economy. They cannot solve all of our problems, but they can bring in some desperately required resources to try to kickstart our economy because of the exchange rate differential. Official exchange rate is 410, 411. So for every $1 that these people send, they multiply it by 410, 411 in the official markets, and they can put it into investments that can create additional value. So I think it is definitely what needs to be done. And NIDCOM under Honorable Abike Dabiri is doing, in my view, I think they are doing a decent job. The lady seems to have articulated a strategy and is actively engaging a lot of Nigerian, a lot of groups across the world. So it is something that needs to be encouraged. Thank you very much once again, Doctor. Olu, there are other hands. I see a Tunde Akpelogun and an Anthony Ubebo.
Yes, Tunde Akpelogun can ask his question now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bayo Rotimi. I thank God for your life, for giving you sound education. If I didn't see your name, I would have thought maybe you are an Igbo man.
I am a Nigerian man.
Yeah, I can see that in your name. You see, you have said a lot of things, like a very excellently educated person will have said. Very careful, very mindful of your chosen words and the way you have constructed yourself. But the reality remains that if we have a fraudulent decreed 1999 constitution, which faked the National Assembly in favor of the minority that are ruling Nigeria, there can never be any viable, meaningful investment going to Nigeria. I don't know, the type of investment that you are talking about in terms of the Nigerian diasporan intermediary or interface are trying to promote, or what has happened in Nigeria through the diasporans. I don't know what kind of business diasporans have gone to Nigeria to start. You may know. I would like to listen. But when I was watching the WhatsApp, I listened to former governor of Lagos State, who is now a federal minister under Buhari. He said he gave the 3 reasons why they were borrowing money. Because if you tell ordinary people why they are borrowing money, they will tell you because they want to steal it. Then he gave 3 reasons. He said, if you are going to have a child, you will have to borrow money to buy things in anticipation that the child is coming. Or was this another reason that he gave? Another one he gave is that, or you increase taxes. You increase taxes. And then the third one is not to even do the project at all. You see, I don't know where he studied his own economics, but I would like you to really throw some light in what he said. But my belief, what I have been noticing, is that the reason why our foreign exchange, the value of our naira has been dropping drastically, is because, one, any bad money, used money in the community that is taken through this, the commercial bank and then taken to the central bank to be replaced by the new currency. Expectedly, anyone would think that they will then take the bad currency, the dirty one, the used one, and burn them. But instead of burning them, they then bring the currency out again to be buried in the coffin, in the cellar, in their home. And this is the same money they are using to buy our good currency in the diaspora. You see, you can see the supply of the naira, the paper currency, is really the main cause of the devaluation of our national currency. So I want you to comment on what ex-governor Fashola said, as much as what type of investment are diasporans establishing in Nigeria, if not food, restaurants, and then, look at the situation, how we can stop the bad currency that are meant to have been burnt in the central bank is now finding its way back into the community free of charge, and people are using it to buy our good dollars, yen, euro, and sterling pounds. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your question. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of the specific statement that you have credited to Mr. Fashola, so I'm unable to comment on something that I have not read, so I don't know what he has said or not said. But what I would say is this, regarding the specific question around what kind of investment activities can our Nigerians in the diaspora get involved with? And for me, there are numerous things that the Nigerian in the diaspora can do. A lot of the investments that have come in have gone into the agro-allied industry. And I'm talking about processing, agro-processing. Nigeria is a great producer of primary products, right? Yam, they say we are the largest producer of yam in the whole world. Cassava, we are like the 6th or the 7th largest producer of cassava in the whole world. Cashew, we are in the top 10 or top 15. So we're adepts at primary production. Where we have always struggled is that we do not create value on the back of our primary produce. We will export primary produce and we will get a fraction of the value. Let's assume the total value of 1 kilogram of yam is $100, right? If we export only the raw yams, maybe if we are lucky, we will get $10, 10% of that total value chain. But we send the yam outside as raw yam, and we get $10 a kilogram, and we are very happy. Meanwhile, the people that buy it from us, they turn it around. They create yam chips. They create gum. They create all manner of things from it, byproducts from it, and then turn back and sell those byproducts to us. 90% of the value we have exported to somebody else. So there are a lot of Nigerian diaspora that I am aware of that are investing in that agricultural value chain. There is a lot of investment from the Nigerian diaspora inside of the real estate sector. They say we have a 16 to 17 million housing deficit in Nigeria, right? And a lot of them are in the lower to the upper middle to the middle class space. There is still a significant supply gap. And a lot of diaspora investments are going into those areas. You have a lot of universities and institutions of higher learning that do not have accommodation and hostels. A lot of their funds that are coming back home are going to fund hostels, because you build a hostel that caters to a university and you have a captive market. You are not scratching your head to look for people that will rent the property. So a lot of money goes into the real estate space. I know that a lot of money goes into medical, the healthcare sector, particularly in the area of diagnostics, in the areas of community pharmacies and similar ancillary healthcare services. So there is no shortage, or there are no shortages of viable areas to make money or to invest in. What is important is you find the diaspora are looking for credible partners to work with locally, because they cannot leave their jobs and their lives in wherever they are and come and supervise the businesses full-time in Nigeria. So it is important for those of us that are resident in Nigeria for us to position ourselves to be valuable partners to some of these people who have the capital and who want to import the capital into Nigeria. you know, and that will be my view, sir. I know that we are work in progress as a nation. I have mentioned it earlier that 61 years has passed and we are far from where we are supposed to be. But I refuse to believe that there is no hope for Nigeria, because I saw a China turn around in 20-something years, and I've seen the transformation that is taking place in India. And between those two countries, they constitute easily 30%, if not 40% of the entire world's population. So if countries that are as hugely populated as that can effect this kind of turnaround, can pull out hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, then it is not impossible for Nigeria, with a population of 200 and something million people, to turn around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bayo. Thank you very much. Anthony, you'll take your comments and your questions, and I know you are in the diaspora, so you'll have maybe some more insight or perspective to this whole discussion. Anthony, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm just kind of surprised. Often we talk about diaspora, we're talking about their pockets. You know, diaspora money, diaspora, what are we, slaves now? You know, so the point is that Nigeria is screwed from within. Stop looking at diaspora. You know, we know where Nigeria is. We left Nigeria, you know, some of us, most of us, when we are adults. You know, we have a dumb way of doing things. And I'm saying this with all seriousness. You know, from as a kid, if I said this when I was a kid, I would have been slapped around like you're crazy or something. And I grew up watching, you know, that we have a very dumb way of doing things. This is a serious matter. And one of the dumb ways, I'll say, for example, let me start with just a couple for you. How do you explain that a country like Nigeria has crude oil for decades, and then we export crude oil? That's, you know, that's is the ultimate form of stupidity. You export crude oil to faraway lands, as far as the eyes can see, all for the purpose of refining the crude oil. Then you bring them back. I mean, give me a break with madness. So that's one. And then we say you don't have dollars. How are you ever going to have dollars? I mean, a smart 10-year-old could figure this out. That's very stupid. That's what it is. So you leave that alone. Then you talk about, for example, your government, where the federal government is such that you walk to Abuja to share money. In other words, a disincentive for using some common sense like everybody else. Nigerians are some of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Not because I'm Nigerian. I've worked with so many people around the world. I mean, not that I went around the world, but I'm in New York. But I mean, the bottom line is we're addicted to doing very dumb things. And if you change that, even 10%, the whole country will turn around. I mean, look at the recent case of the doctors. These are the most brilliant Nigerians. Medicine, I couldn't study medicine in a million years. I mean, medicine is not easy. I couldn't memorize all the labels for just an year, let alone. The bottom line is we wouldn't pay them. I mean, what madness is that? So when you talk about diaspora, you know, I hear you, I know where you're coming from and all that, but it's getting sickening. Because you know what? We left Nigeria in the worst form of desperation. Many of us are not doing well in diaspora. You don't hear about those who are bonded in slavery forever. Some of us are lucky to be able to, you know, stand out and, you know, have some fresh air here and there. And Nigerians are still living Nigeria desperately as we speak today through the desert, you know, dying in the Mediterranean. I don't know that anybody wants to eat the fish in the Mediterranean today because there's so many Nigerian bodies in the waters already. And I mean, so what's all this? I don't understand it. We do too many dumb things. You talk about, for example, Nigerians diaspora come to invest. The bottom line is if 10% of Nigerians who are doing well in diaspora came to a civilized Nigeria, the economy will change for good. That's a fact, 10%. But you have a country where you can't travel from Lagos to Ibadan. You can't go from, I mean, give me, just yesterday, a bus, you know, traveling from somewhere in the east to Abuja was stopped, as they said, suspected, a couple of guys escaped from the bus. They said they were stopped by Fulani headsmen, you know, and like 80 to 90 people were kidnapped just within the last 48 hours. So what are we talking about diaspora? I hear you, I read you, and I applaud you, but you know what? I mean, it's just not making sense, really. It's not making sense. So that's what I got to say. It's not making sense. Some of us are stuck in diaspora forever,
right?
Because when we come home, we get killed. When we come home, we get duped sometimes. I mean, there's some people who are contributing, but the diaspora, you can't even get the Nigerian passport as I speak to you right now from the embassy in the consulate in New York. You can't get the Nigerian passport. So these are the issues that we have. So stop talking about picking up our pockets like we're idiots. We know where Nigeria is. We want to help the country. I am helping the country. I'm one of those who's contributing to Nigeria. I contribute a lot to Nigeria financially. That is my own volition. But you got to talk about how to clean up the country and not looking at just diaspora's pockets, so that we can come back home someday and do what we got it. All right? Appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anthony spoke straight from the heart. He spoke straight from the heart, and I could feel you. I understand the challenges. I understand the frustrations. Nigerians outside of Nigeria are frustrated about the state of things in their own country. Nigerians within Nigeria also have significant frustrations too about how we have fared as a nation in the last 61 years. So I get you totally. And, today we're talking about the contributions and the role of the Nigerian diaspora in nation building. The diaspora is one subset, is one group, one of many groups. So just as we are engaging about how the diaspora can support nation building, we are engaging with various participants in different spheres, private sector, non-governmental organizations, even within government. So there are various groupings, there are various associations, there are various communities and constituencies that are all doing things individually just to drive and develop and grow this our nation and this our economy. So it just so happens that today the topic for discussion is the diaspora, and I think it is a very valid and very valuable conversation to have, because the diasporans are stakeholders in Nigeria as well. So my view is this, wherever you are, whether you are within the geographical boundaries of this country or you are living and working or operating outside of Nigeria, we should all have one common goal, which is the development of this nation. And how to achieve that development is through individual and collective action. So we're calling everybody. A lot of the people on this call today are based in Nigeria, just like a lot of you guys are also outside the country. So I will say, let everybody play their part. As a diasporan that is looking to invest in Nigeria, we are saying seek proper guidance, seek proper advice, do your due diligence, be clear about what it is you are putting money into, be clear about the competence and the capacity and the track record of the local partners that you will be entrusting to invest your money on your behalf, or be the managers of that investment. Because a lot of time, even in Nigeria, if you invest in a business without putting proper structures and oversight, the business will be run down. People will rob you blind, even if you are living in Nigeria. So it is not only those who are outside Nigeria that get the short end of the stick when it comes to investments. So all I can simply say is this: there is a clear contribution that Nigerians in the diaspora can make. And the simple thing is, if I invest 1 naira today, there is only so far I can go with my 1 naira. Because of the exchange rate between the naira and the dollar at official rate, because that's the only rate that I can quote, is 411 or 413. Then your $1 gets you a lot more than it could have 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. That's all I'm saying. So there is an advantage to you being outside of the shores of Nigeria, an advantage that is not readily available to the average Nigerian, because the average Nigerian is dealing with inflation at 16%. In the US or wherever you are, I'm sure your inflation is 3% maximum. In the UK, it is 3.5%, and people are screaming that inflation is too high. So there are some advantages to being outside of Nigeria and to earning a convertible income in convertible currency, right? Which Nigeria as a nation desperately needs. So that's really why this is the subject for today's discourse. Next week, it might be something else. They may focus on the role of doctors in nation building and teachers and politicians and the like. So that really is it. So finally, my final point, Anthony, is let's all just do our part. You know, a wise person once said that you should become the change that you want to see. Become the change that you want to see. So if you want that changed and transformed Nigeria, then let us all contribute towards the changing and the transforming of that nation, either through investments, either through capacity. And another thing, thank you, Anthony, you also raised a second valid point, that when you think about the diaspora, don't just only look at them through with dollar signs in your eyes. The diaspora can also bring significant technology and skills transfer. You know, a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora have gotten rock solid education. They have worked in best-in-class, world-class institutions. They have learned a lot of things, and Nigeria can benefit from some of that knowledge. So what we are looking for is not just your cash. We are looking for your know-how. We are looking for your expertise. We are looking for your relationships, who you can introduce to come and do business with Nigeria. And that is the clarion call tonight. Thank you, Anthony, very much.
Thank you very much, Bayo. I think you have done a lot of justice to that question. We'll take the last two sets of questions, and I will ask you the final questions so that we can wrap up as we go. And those will be from Jumoke Akin-Taylor and Akin Adeni. We'll take the two questions, you know, so that you can answer both of them together. So Jumoke, you can unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment or question, as the case may be.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to also lend my voice to Mr. Anthony's voice. I think the role of the diaspora is more than economic and investment. I think at this point, with the critical situation in Nigeria, the role of the diaspora should be engaging the global community on enacting policies and legislations that can bring Nigeria back from disintegration. And it really saddens me that I don't hear that really being discussed. Economics is something, but it's what has gotten us to where we are. We need to focus on social and moral reforms. What can we, as the diasporans, do to join forces as a global force? Because that's what we are. In every country that Nigerians are, they are in reputable positions. And we are not leveraging those positions to kind of really raise our voices to that all is not well. And we keep talking about economics as though all is well. All is not well. Millions of Nigerians are being killed every day. People are going hungry. And my heart breaks when I hear about all this economic investments. And we're not really dealing with the real issues, which is the social and moral destruction of Nigeria. So that's what I would like us to hear about. Once that is sorted out, then we can now start talking about economics. If we're rebuilding Nigeria, we need to go back to the foundations of this country and begin to clean up. How can we influence our host, well, which is now our new homes, to just join forces in working for the good of Nigeria. I'm not saying deploy military to come and fight Nigerians' battles, no. But these global communities have become a safe haven for politicians and for all those that have defrauded Nigeria. How do we employ these communities not to be a safe haven, to reject their monies and go back to Nigeria, go stew in the mess that you have created, but don't roll out the red carpet for them? I think those are some of the things that I would like to hear more of. So I just wanted to lend my voice to Mr. Anthony, is that it's not about money. It should be much more than economics at this point. Thank you.
Akin, should please unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Bayo, for the brilliant presentation so far. I have a question, but before I get to that question, I'd like to make reference to one or two key issues that have been raised here today. Okay, so Bayo, you've spoken so well to the developmental change in China, the transition period, the pain, the sacrifice they went through from Chairman Mao to Deng Xiaoping and all whatnot. Now I see a similar situation taking Nigeria out of the hole that we have dug ourselves into. But my concern is, are we ready to go through that same, kind of sacrifice and pain? Are we ready? You see, there are so many factors railing against the welfare of Nigeria and Nigerians. And I feel this is one of the greatest challenges that we need to deal with. This is a virtual session, and we don't have the luxury of time to deal with every bit of this concern, right? Somebody also mentioned earlier on about short-termism, Nigerians' love, or should I say fixation, onto short-term investments. So we look at all these factors, and we really have to, ask ourselves, Nigeria getting back on track is not going to be, what do you call it now, a bed of roses. It will come with pain. We have dug ourselves into a terrible hole. The sacrifices that will come. You think about removing the fuel subsidy, talk about building infrastructure. All these things will come with pain. Are we ready for this? All right, that's just my question. Thank you.
Sorry, Bayo, you need to unmute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bayo, you need to.
Okay, I've done that now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, so thank you very much, Jumoke, Akin Taylor, and Aki Adeni. Jumoke, you raised a number of critical points, and I believe that in the course of my presentation, one of the things I had mentioned earlier was the need to essentially go back to first principles, go back to the foundation. And I spoke about the need to focus on education, because that's really where, this social and moral rebirth that you are alluding to, that is really where, that is the platform, apart from the home, but the educational system is also the platform through which certain values can be reinforced, the dignity of labor and all of that. So I had alluded to that point in the course of my presentation. I also said in response to Anthony that beyond dollars and cents and pounds and pence that the diaspora can channel into the Nigerian economy, I also spoke about skills transfer. I spoke about technology transfer. I spoke about leveraging on their contacts and relationships, right, to support causes in Nigeria. And those causes could be economic, they could be financial, they could be social, right? There are a lot of social ailments that we're dealing with, and education is one of them. Healthcare is another. You know, I spoke about India and a billion vaccinations. Where was India 6, 7, 8 months ago? They had one of the highest incidents of COVID infections and deaths. You know, but this is a country that dug deep, you know, and was able to rise above the challenges, the significant challenges that they faced. India is not yet out of the woods. There is still a significant incidence of poverty in there. There is a significant amount of insecurity that they are grappling with on a daily basis. You know, so this every nation is evolving, and we're at different stages of our development ladder. You know, Nigeria, we're all of 61 years. Unfortunately, we're not where we should be, but I totally agree that there is a lot more that we need to do. Regarding the Western world being recipients of ill-gotten wealth accumulated by the Nigerian political elite and even private sector elites, because corruption is not restricted to public sector. There's a lot of private sector corruption, and a lot of these monies get repatriated into foreign countries. You know, I'm sure you know that a lot of the host countries where a lot of Nigerians are resident today, you know, they look out for number one. They are not interested. They may espouse democracy and all of that, but they will receive money from a tyrannical leader. They will keep a tyrant's money within their banking system. They will use it to fuel economic development in their own countries, whilst espousing the ideals of democracy to the rest of the world. So there is a lot of double standard, and we know that. There is too much double standard. The West they only act in their enlightened self-interests. The worst dictator will be the friend of the West if you align with their perspectives and you further their interests. But the day you step away from that, then they would act. They will remember that you are not a Democrat. You know, so those are the issues. But I think your point and Anthony's point are very well made. There is a lot of value that the Nigerian diaspora can render. I know very senior, very skilled medical personnel, consultants, cardiologists, oncologists, orthopedic surgeons that come into Nigeria, right, almost at no cost. Some of them contribute their skills to run surgical clinics. They fly in for 1 week and they do like 10, 20, 30 surgeries and they go back. That is their own contribution. So there are different ways everybody within and outside Nigeria can contribute to nation building. Then finally, Akin Adeniyi's point around are we ready to pay the price? You know, that is a fundamental question. And I think I had also spoken to this to say that there is no economic, there is no national, there is no political transformation that can happen in any nation without a hefty price tag being attached to that action. You know, a lot of pain will come. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of people may be put in harm's way in the process of effecting change in different ways. But beyond physical harm, you know, there is also an economic consequence to a change process. So if you are moving your mindset and your economic activities and policies from largely being short-term focus to medium to long-term focus, then it means that people will have to bear some pain initially, you know, and the question is a valid question. Are people ready to pay the price? But like I said earlier, whilst in theory people may be ready, but that trust deficit of the last 61 years always says, why am I the one always being asked to sacrifice? Why is this sacrifice seemingly one-sided? Why are we not seeing everybody equally carrying their weight in terms of making sacrifices? And I think that is really the thing. So our political leadership needs to work on closing out on that trust deficit, so that every policy pronouncement that comes out of government, people can see that there will be one treatment, equal treatment for everybody. All of us will collectively tighten our belts for the sake of our nation moving forward. So I would like to just end at that point with a final remark to say, nation building is difficult anywhere. It is never easy. It involves pain, frustrations, losses, untold, unimaginable losses. But I believe that all of those represent sacrifices for the future of our nation and for the future of the coming generations. We need to restore hope to the future population, the future Nigerian population. We need to restore hope, and God will help us. But we as individuals, let's all contribute our own quota, however small. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Bayo Rotimi. You have done extremely very well this evening. We appreciate everything you have said so far, and I would like to thank all the participants for joining the broadcast this evening. Next week, we'll be having another beautiful discussion, and we are going to have Professor Olumuyiwa Odusanya is going to be speaking on functional health systems for Nigeria. It'll be lovely to have all of you again to join us on this platform and have a wonderful discussion again. While Bayo will be rounding up now, I would like to ask him that our $1 million question. If you happen to be the president of Nigeria, what will be the solution that you're going to provide to the problems of Nigeria in 1 minute?
In 1 minute, very simple. I will repeat what I said at the very beginning. I will focus on education, because it is through education that there will be empowerment. It is through education that there will be entrenchment of political rights. It is through education that there will be emancipation of the mind. Free the mind so that people can aspire to their highest potential. It is all about education. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you once again. It is through education that we can emancipate the human mind. And you said no pain, no gain. We should all be ready to tighten our trousers and tighten our belts and to put our hands on the deck to make Nigeria great again. On this note, I would like, on behalf of Pastor Itra Igodalo and Sonny Nebi, I would like to thank you all for joining us again this evening. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. God bless you all.
All right.